Welcome back to GTN Coaches Corner, your chance to treat us like your own personal coach. You can send us training, racing, tech-related questions. We're here every Monday answering these questions for you. So just post those questions in using the hashtag GTN Coaches Corner below this video or below any video.
Yeah, well, to start us off, we've got this one from Juan Perez. Hey guys, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Here goes. When I'm training for triathlon, especially the bike, I stay in zone 2 at about 32 to 30k, 33k, but when I'm racing, if I want to keep the same speed, my heart rate drops to low zone 4, high zone 4. Should I go slow at the beginning of the bike leg so my heart rate settles a bit? Well, there's quite a few things to bear in mind with this, isn't there? I mean, first up, you can't compare it purely to your training to racing. There's so many differences. I mean, we do the best we can to prepare ourselves for race day, but you've got that factor called adrenaline, which as much training as you do, you're not going to be able to control. Maybe that's a psychology session you need to look at separately. But also the fact that you're probably not doing most of your bike sessions after swimming and you're coming straight from the swim, which it might have been stressful. It's going to have been hard work, so your heart rate's going to be high. You've been horizontal, you're running into transition. You're then trying to get everything ready and get on your bike and that excitement. You're trying to negotiate all the other cyclists nearby you, which you're probably not normally doing. So initially, just don't panic about that heart rate. And then it's up to you whether you want to actually try and back off a bit for it to come down or be more patient until you get into that rhythm and it will start to come down at that point.
Yeah, another idea maybe to help this is doing some race simulation. So in your training, actually doing some swim, bike, run under a bit of pressure, trying to go hard and doing that more regularly so you're adapted to a degree to those stresses and the heart rate high out the swim, etc., etc. Or just simply entering more races. They don't always have to be key races. They can be some smaller local races. Again, just getting that experience and doing it under pressure. And then you can also, as Heather said, back off a little bit. I actually do this quite often at the beginning of the run in a triathlon, find that my heart rate spikes as I get up off the bike, probably just the sheer shock of, oh my God, my legs are hurting so much. My heart rate spikes. So actually just go steady for the first half kilometre, allow that heart rate to settle and then pick things back up. If you don't do that, sometimes you can just find your heart rate just stays high and continues to increase.
Can I also just throw a little spanner into the works here, which a lot of you guys listening might be like, no, I couldn't dream of doing that. But sometimes we don't need to focus on our bike computer and on the numbers. And I would love to know how it actually feels. If you couldn't see that you were in zone 4 and you were just kind of going through the race, and whether you've got a smaller race coming up, I would love to dare you to try to actually do it and go with your feel and not look too much. Maybe look at the data afterwards for information, but have a go, see what happens.
Yeah, it's also sometimes amazing when you look at your data afterwards, like, no way I have that heart rate for the whole thing. Right, next question from Bike and Dog Trips. Hi, is a race license required to complete a triathlon? A few years ago, I was about to start cycle racing and had sent off for my race license, but with typical good fortune, I had a serious accident. Sorry to hear that. No bike for 2 years due to slow compensation. Anyway, I started running to stop myself from feeling lazy and noticed that I didn't need a license to run a race. Well, it's different for every country, obviously, but on the most part, yes, you do need a license, or at least it's advised. Most countries, or some countries, will have a national governing body and they will be able to provide you a license. And the benefits of having those licenses is that you are covered and insured for a lot of those events. Some countries do allow you day licenses, so you can just pay a small fee rather than taking out an annual license, and that will have the same sort of benefits in terms of insurance and cover. And I would recommend that. There are other additional benefits depending on the national governing body you're with.
And it's worth considering how many races you're going to do. I mean, when I raced in the States, you have to do a day membership, but it's not that cheap. And if you're going there a few times, it's worth getting the annual one. So, but sometimes you don't know. So you do have to weigh that up. But also some smaller races won't maybe need one, but you'll also notice quite a few races will not stipulate it, but if you have a license, it will be cheaper because they don't need to add on that extra insurance. So it might be worth an investment.
Yeah, no, great question though. And also just great to hear that you're getting stuck into triathlon.
Totally.
Yeah. Next one, we've got a bit of a techie one here from Yoshida Noburo. Said, I noticed Lucy Charles Barkley is using an oval chainring. Can you explain the benefits and drawbacks of using one for age groupers, and if it's something that I should consider using? First off, good spot. It's actually something that James and myself have used in the past ourselves, and quite famously, Chris Froome is known for using a very extreme asymmetric chainring, similar sort of thing, an oval chainring. The idea is simply to improve pedal efficiency and effectiveness. Whilst it doesn't allow you to just magically produce more power, what it does do is maximizes the effectiveness of the more powerful parts of your pedal stroke, and then makes the parts of the pedal stroke with less power easier for you. Okay, does that make sense? It
sounds wonderful. I mean, the thing I don't understand is why more people don't use it if it on paper is so good.
Okay, so that is the big question, and I've got to say myself, having used oval chainrings, I didn't notice a massive difference myself. Some people pick them up and think they're incredible, and they notice a massive difference. They feel far more efficient. I've got to say, honestly, I didn't notice a massive difference, although I did use it for a period of time. So it is totally personal. So if you do have the option to try one out, then certainly go give it a go. There are some brands out there like Rotor that are very techy with it. They allow you to do some testing. You can use their app and literally align these oval chain rings so that it suits your physiology, where you're applying the power best and where you're not. And that is kind of the science, or the idea behind them, is that due to our physiology, we're not able to apply even power throughout the whole circular pedal stroke, and therefore these oval chain rings are helping make those sections more effective where you are applying more power.
And it makes sense. And if you've ever ridden on a Watt bike and you've seen, you can change the screen to your pedal pattern, you can see an oval shape, and sometimes more than others, whether you're standing out of the saddle or in the saddle. So if you've even got that as a first experiment, it won't be something just good to see out of interest and get your head around it.
Yeah, and to answer your question about should age groupers use it, absolutely. But if you're new to the sport, probably stay clear of this. This is more for that 1% when you're just trying to improve small things, you've made aero gains, and you're just trying to find those small bits of detail that you can improve on.
Yeah, cool. All right, our next question here from Ethan Smith. Hi guys, I always find that when I come off the bike, no matter what I try, I somehow end up with an unbearable stitch. Along with this, I cannot seem to run with speed off the bike due to jelly legs, even though I do my brick sessions. When I watch guys at my races, they never seem like they get jelly legs or stitches when they get off the bike, and they look like they're going for a park run. Hope you can help. Well, first up, don't judge what other people look like, because inside they probably feel like they've got jelly legs. I know that from experience, that you'll kind of think, oh my God, I looked awful. And other people will be like, you look great. God, I wish I looked like you felt. So focus on yourself with that one. But there's the stitch aspect first. I can certainly relate to that. And I've had it a couple of times in, well, the only 2 Ironman races I've done, really badly, and I haven't quite even got to the bottom of it, but I've done a lot of research in that, and there's several things that could be going on. I mean, the first one, and probably most obvious for long distance triathlons, is nutrition, isn't it? It's whether you've eaten or drunk too much later on, or sometimes even not enough, and dehydration can cause cramp and can cause stomach issues. So it's trying to, I guess, differentiate of whether it's actually a stomach problem or muscular, because it's so interconnected. And then you've got the muscular aspect, which obviously if you've been on a bike, especially in an aero position, your hip flexors have been closed and been tight, and you're opening up, and the stitch pain's usually here, and it's your deep hip flexors that are getting affected. So for that, you might want to look at your position. You might want to look at actually doing more strengthening work, so you're used to holding that position, and also glute activation, so that when you're on the bike, you're using those muscles at the back, so that the ones at the front aren't doing all the work. So that's kind of the stitch aspect. And if you've got more to add to that.
Well, no, I was just going to say, it's a minefield with stitch, and unfortunately it is a bit of a process of elimination. As Heather said, it could be your position, and it could also be nutrition. It could be the fact that you're taking food on and your position is so cramped that it's not allowing the food to go through and down quite as well, and it's just getting trapped in some ways. There's so much to look into there. But to answer your other question about the run pace and how well other people are running off the bike versus yourself, brilliant that you're doing brick sessions, but maybe looking into how you do those brick sessions, making sure that you're doing some intense bikes with the runs off, you're doing bikes with intense runs off, and a bit of both. Also, another way of kind of emulating that fatigue coming off the bike is just on your everyday runs, doing efforts towards the end of those runs, or a longer run, where you're fatigued, and just getting used to trying to put out higher paces, harder efforts when your legs are already tired.
Yeah, and I think if you spoke to most pros, they would still say they feel some element of jelly legs, even if we as amateurs watching it think they look amazing. So bear that in mind, it might help, you never know, psychologically.
Sorry to say, jelly legs is never cured. They're always there. Right, final question, Daniel Gibson, and I love this question, said, GTN Coaches Corner, I'm 15 years old and now I'm old enough to do Olympic distance triathlons. How do I take it to the next level competitively because I want to become a pro? Love your channel, guys. Awesome, great news. Top tip here, enjoy it.
Oh, so important.
Yeah, I mean, it's fantastic that you want to become a professional athlete and certainly pursue that, but don't lose sight of what got you into the sport in the first place and just make sure you do keep enjoying it. I've seen so many people get so focused on the idea of turning pro or qualifying for the world champs, etc., that they end up just simply not enjoying it and forget the reasons why they got into the sport in the first place.
Yeah, and I mean at that age as well, it should be social. So you try and find a club that's got like-minded people doing it that you get on with, so it becomes something you just look forward to going to training. And yes, you're going to training to improve yourself, but you're also going to training because there's just this fun element. And find a coach that is very understanding of coaching younger athletes, because it is a different type of training you need to be doing. You're not going to be doing as many big, long, slow miles. You've got school to fit in around your training as well, but also your body's still going to be growing and getting stronger. So it's a perfect time to get ahead of what you might see those age groupers now who can't do their flying mounts, myself included. This is your chance to nail all of those kind of technical aspects and get really comfortable on the bike, maybe do some mountain biking or some cyclocross racing and mix it up. And all of that, even if it doesn't look like, numbers of training straight away, you can't really measure it, but it's such a great foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. And just get stuck into some races, get that experience in the bank. And if you do start performing well, you'll find that you start getting invited to other bigger races, potentially picked up by national governing bodies and so on and so forth. And you might even end up competing internationally, but just allow it to happen. If you're passionate about the sport, then it will.
Yeah, exactly. And there are other races as well within the sort of scope of triathlon. So you can do some swim run races or biathlon. Yeah. I mean, the school's biathlon event is in the UK is big, and I think in other countries it's something that's growing. So there's different aspects within it that you can still be sort of having fun, and you'll still get noticed by selectors in those. So yeah, great question. Yeah, brilliant. Oh, do keep all the questions coming in using that hashtag GTN Coaches Corner. We're here every Monday answering those questions for you, so do make sure you keep tuning in. If you enjoyed today's video, give it a thumbs up, give it a like, and don't forget to subscribe.